Hi, and welcome back to the shop. So is it possible to save an old plywood skiff from the bonfire? Stick around, see how I did it, and even improved upon it to create the Tiger Lake boat. Enjoy. Many years ago, I went to look at a boat for a customer. It was an old plywood skiff built in Maryland. The boat was built out of marine-grade Douglas fir plywood over oak framing. There were several rotten places, including framing and both topside and bottom planking. She looked to be in rough shape, and the owner was unsure if it was worth saving. He wanted a little skiff to keep at their camp in Tiger Lake in West Virginia. I assured him with wooden boats that can be fixed. Furthermore, they can be brought back to better than new. I moved her into the shop and began some cleanup and inspection. I scraped her down to expose her condition and set a beam across midship to hold her shape. She was built with sawn frames, meaning frame members were built up out of timber rather than steam bent. In this case, the frames were made of white oak with plywood gussets. If there were any limbers or drainage holes in the frames, they were plugged with debris over the years, causing this rot. Here is the intersection of bottom planking and side planking. This joint is backed up with a piece called the chine log, which is a sawn and bent piece of oak that defines the shape and holds fasteners. This intersection is reinforced on the outside of the boat with a strip of fiberglass cloth. With the bottom cleaned up and problems identified, I had to excavate until I found solid wood. I used a router to create a large mating surface for scarfing in the new plywood plank pieces. Here you can see I built several new frames. Construction was white oak with plywood gussets. Multiple limber or drainage holes are visible on each frame. These will provide the required drainage so fresh water won't sit against the wood and cause issues in the future. In the topside areas that required plank repair, I again used a router to create a large mating surface to allow for the best glue joint possible. Many clamps make this job a fairly easy one. Once construction repairs have been made, cleanup of joints and frame tops begins, and painted areas can begin to be primed. The owner decided he would like a small storage area forward, so we laid out a bulkhead and planned for a decked-over area. This required installation of deck beams. Construction continues on the forward area with seat cleats installed and priming. This shot shows the inwales, which are the long inside railing pieces made of mahogany, being clamped to the planking and fit. In addition, the inside of the hull has been primed for painting. Here it looks like the foredeck has been installed and trimmed out. In addition, trim for the forward cubby is being glued in place. In this shot, the foredeck fiberglass is being sanded. In addition, the mahogany gunnels, which are the long rails on the outside of the hull, have been installed and the fasteners have been bunged. Bunging is an operation where a wooden plug is made from the material and glued into the fastener countersink hole. When trimmed, flush, and sanded, it makes for a solid look. With the deck and inside of the hull to a primed state, I've rolled the boat over to address the topside planking and the hull bottom. Several topside coats were applied. Usually a minimum of 4 coats with body putty and hand sanding in between each coat are required. In addition, coats of varnish are being applied to the brightwork areas, which include rails, seats, and deck trim. On this boat I used Interlock Bright Sides paint and Pettit Marine's Captain's Varnish. With the varnish finished, it's time to put the final coats on. The deck and inside of the hull received a gray color, which was a nice light color that would be easier on the eyes in bright sunlight than gloss white. The original bench seat slats were planed down slightly to remove blemishes. They were varnished and reinstalled. Finally, splash day. The customers and I took the boat to Moraine State Park in western Pennsylvania. She now has her floorboards back in, motor and lines are attached, and she's ready for a day on the water. You can tell her workboat heritage, but a little varnish work in the finished product and she shines. The small outboard is more than enough to move her at a good pace and quiet enough to allow for conversation while underway. Her flat bottom and wide transom will allow for a larger outboard motor if someone felt the need. Thanks for watching.